It's a new world order, and it's going to require some serious bravery on the part of the CMO. And if after all that, you want to bring even more value to your organization, here you go. Consider how AI can improve care delivery and outcomes to the point that it's time to ask payers to pay based on your super duper.
There's so much that we need to share. So send a smile and show you care. I'll give a little bit. I'll give a little bit of my life for you.
Hello, and welcome to the Fire Chief Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the Chief Medical Officer. I'm your host, Lee Scheinbart, and this podcast brings you the hottest and most crucial conversations in healthcare and physician leadership. Thanksgiving is upon us here in the U.S., one of the most traditional American holidays of all, and one that is most associated with increasing distraction toward the end of the calendar year here in this country. Yeah, we get excited about Labor Day and Halloween for a variety of reasons, but when Turkey Day looms on the calendar, the American brain begins its slow slide downward into checkout mode, as in checking out until January 2nd. Wake me up when the holidays are all over mode. Most people right now are really beginning to focus on getting ready for that proverbial Turkey Day. What to cook, whose house is hosting the meal, what are we bringing, and the most important question of all, whose sister-in-law or whose uncle is most likely to ruin the holiday for everyone. With all of this going on, not to mention the impending festivities of December filled with work parties, neighborhood parties, gift exchanges, gift wrapping, maybe a vacation cruise to the Caribbean, and so much more, folks simply fold up when it comes to work concentration. I mean, how many of you have gotten the email following your simple request for a check-in or a chat? Hey, thanks for the note, but this is a super busy time right now. Maybe we'll catch up in 2026, which translates to, yeah, I have PTO days to burn. I've blocked my calendar. I've just way too many things to organize, and I just cannot possibly fathom spending 30 minutes with you. So we'll have to wait, which is the opposite of busy at work. It is just busy at being busy of hyper distraction. And in case you forget, January will be the royal shit show because you have postponed everything in December, and now January is double booked for everything, and you're almost a quarter into your finances and way behind for the quarter. But not the orthopedic surgeons, mind you. This tends to be a very, very busy time for them. Patients have met their deductibles. They want their joint procedures done before returning to those high out-of-pocket expenses starting again on January 1st. Nor is this time off for all the medical staff everywhere who have to take call at their hospital on Turkey Day. I mean, that's the day they will get that one free cafeteria lunch of the year consisting of turkey and gravy and potatoes, or ham and sweet potatoes, because the physician lounge, as everyone knows, is always closed on Thanksgiving Day. And God knows where the administrators are this weekend, probably skiing in Utah or Tahoe. But I can guarantee you what is going to happen in the hospital this weekend. It's a solid bet. I guarantee you that as of this very minute right now, and again on Thursday, across the U.S., members of a medical staff at some hospital you've never heard of are working in the emergency department, upstairs making rounds, managing patients in the ICU, and in the NICU too. And these physicians are looking at their smartphone screens, but not at TikTok. They only do that in the physician's lounge, which is closed, as I said, so no TikTok. No, they're looking at AI platforms and they're asking questions, trying to extract some type of information that they want to consider in the care of their patient. And at the exact same time, the patient in bed 5 in the ED who has been seen by the triage nurse, maybe a tech or two, maybe the phlebotomist, is already doing the very same thing about their very own condition while they're waiting to see the physician, or you if it happens to be you. And finally, if it hasn't already happened last month, a VPMA or a chief medical officer at that hospital or another one nearby, the members of the medical staff and the entire nursing staff are asking or will be asking about their use of AI and what does administration have to say about it, which, by the way, they're skiing this weekend and probably again on Christmas. And so the teams are asking, can we use it? Will you buy us the subscriptions for the platform? They'll tell you which platform that they want, which one they don't want, and demand will keep growing for answers and solutions to these questions. And the patients are behaving the exact same way. They're quizzing the medical staff at every encounter during their hospital visit about what they have found on their newly AI enhanced Dr. Google platform they're using. And the doctor is struggling to keep up. And probably some haven't even figured out that AI might serve as a doctor's Google for Dr. Google. I know, noodle on that Google for a hot minute. You don't believe me? Then listen to this. I have the receipt. I heard it on a podcast, as a matter of fact. Dr. Travis Zach, Chief Medical Officer at Open Evidence, stated recently that his company's platform has recorded 13 million consults. That's their term for when one asks a medical question on the platform. 13 million consults in 1 month as of September. 13 million. That's astronomical. But we'll tackle those use cases and the clinical issues another time. Look, no one's paying attention to anything this week, and I'm impressed that any of you are still listening right now, which is why I don't want to waste another guest appearance on a week that everyone is just way too busy to think about anything other than family and turkey. And well, you should. But if you are listening because you're stuck in a miserable call room waiting for the next text from the ED, or you're traveling somewhere and you're bored, or you're just killing time to stay out of the kitchen, then you are in for a little bit of a revelation. What I want to share with you today, what I think is both incredibly uncomfortable, but potentially game changing for care delivery and outcomes, is how to think about using AI for clinical performance improvement. And I'm going to sneak it in before your mind is thoroughly destroyed with the upcoming holiday season. Today, we are again diving into one of the most important and frankly most uncomfortable emerging realities for medical staff leaders, that of AI. But not the use of AI as I just outlined. I'm talking about another future use case. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about AI in peer review, credentialing, and privileging. Artificial intelligence is about to change credentialing, privileging, peer review, and ultimately physician performance oversight far more dramatically than any regulatory update or new bylaws revision ever could. We're not talking about AI that checks credential expirables, scrubs licensure databases, or pre-populates forms. No, that's all just automation. Necessary, convenient, but not at all transformative. The real disruption is in how AI will detect outlier performance, will influence clinical decisions, analyze care in real time, and push healthcare leaders toward a new model of medical staff oversight, one that is continuous, data-rich, and oh so ethically complicated. So let's get into this. Think about this. For decades, the medical staff monitoring has been retrospective. We review charts after an event. We convene peer review committees, quality committees after the complications have occurred. And we only know a physician is an outlier pretty much after the pattern has matured. But AI flips that timeline. The emerging models, particularly the ones I mentioned last episode with the use of ambient architecture combined with large clinical data sets and paired with predictive algorithms, they will soon identify deviations in practice patterns, slower than expected recoveries or longer than expected hospital stays, unusual ordering habits, variances from evidence-based guidelines, other outlier complication curves. How about behavioral or communication issues inferred from documentation now, but really seen or witnessed or collated perhaps in real time? And they'll be able to identify these before the human reviewer might have even been notified or noticed. So here's some new concepts, right? Think about this. What if we had AI-informed OPPE? What if we had AI-shaped privileging and AI-augmented peer review? And ultimately, as I'm talking about earlier in the show, the AI-assisted decision-making. So hospital CMO's challenge is no longer, how do I fix the peer review process? It's now, how do I govern a system that is continuously generating insights about physician performance, even when no one asked it to? For medical staff leaders, this is both thrilling and terrifying. Thrilling because AI can show you things you've always suspected, but you've never had the data to prove, like the two surgeons whose complication curves look identical until their patient mix is truly risk adjusted, and then suddenly they don't look so identical. And it's terrifying because AI creates a new expectation of action. Yes, AI creates an expectation of action. So this is something your legal team is already thinking about. If your system can detect outlier behavior early, and you don't intervene early, what does that imply for liability? Negligence claims, for med staff responsibility. A future plaintiff's attorney is already prepared to ask, Dr. CMO, your AI platform detected 3 early warning indicators about Dr. Smith's practice pattern 6 months before the adverse event. Why did the hospital not act on them? And this is why CMOs and medical staff offices must shift from the reviewing of data when acquired to acting on insights when they surface. Peer review today is essentially episodic, but ambient-based AI use case makes it continuous. So consider the difference here. In traditional peer review, a case is flagged manually after an event. And then in an AI augmented peer review system, the system identifies subtle but consistent care deviations, hopefully before any impact or complication. AI might say, literally with an avatar's voice, Dr. X is trending 20% higher than peers on length of stay for this specific diagnosis, even after adjusting for severity. Or Dr. Y's antibiotic selection shows increasing variance from our evidence-based patterns. Or Dr. Z's discharge summaries are missing key documentation elements at a statistically significant rate. Now, while it sounds it is not punitive. It's quality improvement and in real time. And again, what happens when the AI insight is accurate? But the medical staff leadership, the quality committee, peer review simply ignores it. That's where your governance needs to evolve, and quickly. As I predicted earlier in the show, folks are using agentic AI in daily healthcare encounters all day and every day to the tune of 13 million per month. And we're rapidly approaching a moment where AI systems, some of which are embedded in EHRs and some that are simply showing up on a screen in a user's hand and separated from any type of patient-connected documentation, these systems are generating differential diagnoses dynamically. They're recommending next steps, or predicting deterioration, or summarizing records and suggesting a management plan. And they become, in effect, a doctor's silent advisor. And so a physician faces a decision, the AI suggests, say, take option A, or better, creates inquiry with the doctor and asks things like, did you consider this? Or did you ask that? Did you forget to ask that? Would you consider asking that? But in the end, the physician chooses option B. And then later a bad outcome occurs. And in litigation, the question becomes, doctor, the AI recommended a different course. Why did you override it? Which is now brand new medical legal terrain. And conversely, if the physician follows the AI's advice and that advice proves faulty, doctor, why did you rely on a computer instead of your own training? So now we enter a world where the AI can be wrong, the physician can be wrong, and the hospital's governance may be questioned based on how AI insights were or were not used in the first case. As far as I know, we don't have case law yet or very much of it, but I'm pretty sure we will. And that's a frontier CMOs must prepare for. To be fair, many hospitals and health systems are already set up with governance and the structures to begin to face the use of AI in care delivery, and others nowhere close to any type of this conversation. The Joint Commission, fortunately, has put out guidance on AI adoption, and it is not inconceivable that in our lifetime, there will be accreditation standards on the use of AI inside of hospitals, including but not limited to peer review, quality, and credentialing. So on the one hand, you'll have ungoverned use of AI, but on the other hand, you as CMO now have a huge opportunity to use AI for really good use cases, right? So I previously discussed expanding ambient AI scribing and EHR connectivity to the ever-moving physician inside the hospital on a previous episode. Imagine a world where the clinicians are wearing body cams or sensor-enabled badges during patient care, not for punishment, not for Big Brother, not for surveillance, but to provide context and validation. Hey, look, this already is happening in aviation, law enforcement, and other high reliability industrial sectors. But in healthcare, this could translate to real-time assessment of communication patterns, team dynamics, the analytics, fatigue detection, cognitive overload, or even cognitive impairment. What about procedural performance scoring? surgical or procedural course correction in real time. And yeah, this can become part of your OPPE and when needed, an FPPE. With this concept in place, you have actionable patterns of data about rate of activity, frequencies of morbidities or complications, or simply rules that aren't adhered to. And the list is modified to the things that you and your medical staff leadership want measured for the sake of your quality and safety in your institution. The body cam is not about gotcha. The ambient architecture is not to catch bad actors. How do we help the clinician perform sustainably, safely, and with minimal burnout? Yeah, of course. This also raises all the ethical questions and privacy questions that you're already thinking about, and maybe even maybe some collective bargaining concerns for those of you that are facing unionized structures. But CMOs or other clinical leaders must be part of and ideally lead these conversations. So, what should a CMO or an MEC leader or medical staff offices do right now? I have 6 generic ideas. First, just acknowledge that AI will generate use cases that you simply cannot ignore, even if it's random or rogue use of platforms that you or your institution have not sanctioned or approved, and not certainly with your current EHR or any other record keeping platform. You've got to continuously respond to this with your governance and your leadership. Number 2, start building an AI use policy framework if you don't already have one, and not some 30-page legal document. Really simple for use by the medical staff. When is AI usable? When should it be overridden? How are disagreements adjudicated? And ultimately, who's responsible for monitoring the monitors? Think about that for a second. Number 3, plan for the medical legal implications now because the plaintiff's attorneys already are doing that. Number 4, prepare physicians emotionally and professionally. Yeah, many are going to resist, if not most, and some will feel outright threatened, and perhaps they should. And others, however, they'll embrace it. AI is going to need support, and you need to garner as much of that change management strategy as you can think of and get everybody rowing in the right direction. Number 5, build capacity in the medical staff office. This is a time where you have to reevaluate traditional credentialing and your peer review processes, and who are your data management people, who are your analytics folks, who helps manage all the performance indicators, what kind of AI literacy do folks have in your medical staff office? And number 6, finally, position the CMO, or perhaps yourself, as the chief integrator of all of this augmented medical practice. And if it isn't that person, it's probably your informaticist or some other new titled leader. Look, you don't have to be a technologist, but you must be a translator between the technology and the clinical judgment and the medical staff governance, along with ensuring patient safety and monitoring the legal risk. And all of this will come down to your culture. Look, this is a brave new world. It's a new world order, and it's going to require some serious bravery on the part of the CMO. And if after all that, you want to bring even more value to your organization, here you go. Consider how AI can improve care delivery and outcomes to the point that it's time to ask payers to pay based on your super duper results. Forget all this Leapfrog A and CMS 5. We get all that. But that doesn't really lead to a lot of money on the table. If you can be a leader in performance improvement through the use of medical staff governed AI, and then raise that up for your managed care contract people, you bring both value and you are values based in demanding the right premium for your services. We're entering a new phase in medical staff leadership where the data is richer, the insights come faster, and the boundaries between human judgment and machine assisted performance become way more fluid. AI is not going to replace the medical staff office, but it can reshape it. And it certainly will not replace peer review. It, it does have a very real chance, however, to inform it. And AI will certainly not replace physicians, but it will challenge us, all of us, at times uncomfortably, to figure out how to rise up to the higher standard of care that is possible, to deliver better and hyper-personalized outcomes, to bring value to the service delivery. As CMOs and physician leaders, the question is not, will AI change medical staff oversight? Nah, I don't know. Now, that's not the question. The real question is, how do we lead through all of this change. If you are a physician leader or any leader in healthcare for that matter, consider that the medical staff credentialing software vendors that you're working with should be openly talking with you about this future state. And if not, ask to be part of these discussions. Consider the value proposition of being first to embrace the potential futures of performance improvement. Maybe you even have ideas of your own on the matter for your organization's mission, its values, and its culture. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Fire Chief Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the Chief Medical Officer. I want to wish all of you a very wonderful Thanksgiving. And if you are working this weekend and caring for another human being in your hospital, in your ED, in your urgent care, your ICU, your NICU, thank you for everything you do. It is for you we should give thanks on this holiday season. And even as the holiday is upon us and the future is before us, in whatever you do, in the words of Sergeant Phil Esterhaus, remember, let's be careful out there.